And welcome to Men in Confidence Sharing, where we, the men of a certain age, share our thoughts, ideas, and opinions in confidence. Today, we are joined by the whole crew. We have Sean, we have Terrence, we have Rhino, and we have myself, the host, Tony. And we'll go one by one and say hello, like hello, Sean.
Hi, everybody.
And hello, Terrence.
What was that, Sean? What's up, everybody?
I was trying to play like I didn't hear it, like it wasn't weird or peculiar, but hey,
I didn't help it.
Trying to be professional over here.
My Simpsons fans.
And what's up, Rhino?
What's going on, everybody?
So
you ruined it, Sean. I was going to do something special. You ruined it.
I'm sorry, Ronald. I wasn't.
It's all right, man.
But for my Simpsons fans, hi, everybody. Hi, Dr. Nick. They get it.
So what's going on is black people getting killed by police. That's what's going on. To paraphrase WWE, then, now, forever.
Oh my gosh, that is so.
We hope not. Dang,
it's applicable though.
but it's seeming very, very much so.
Well, let me say something here.
Go for it.
Derek Chauvin was pronounced guilty on all 3 counts, and there was some celebration outside of the clap. Woo. There was some celebration outside when they heard, all 3 counts. But within myself, I thought, does this satisfy me? Is this satisfactory? Is this what I needed? Is this the closure that I needed as a black man in America? And I can tell you, having been pulled over twice in the past week, I was actually nicer to the cops. I felt a sense of calmness within myself. I cooperated. I didn't, lose my marbles or lose my cool or anything. But just thinking about him and what he clearly and visibly did on camera, was that enough to satisfy me that the system is finally doing the right thing? And I couldn't help but think to myself, maybe they're just giving us this one. Maybe they're just throwing us a bone. Maybe they're like, look, Derek, dude, hey, you're gonna have to eat this one, man. you're gonna have to eat this one.
Okay, so before that's addressed, because I saw some faces. So let's just go over some facts.
Off camera.
Let's just go over some facts. Okay, so Derek Chauvin was convicted of 2nd-degree unintentional murder, 3rd-degree murder, and 2nd-degree manslaughter. Took the jurors 10 hours over 2 days to make that decision. So, how do you feel about the decision? And I'm going to add an additional question to that. Is it yet time to consider this a victory? Do we need to wait a little longer?
I think we need to wait. And see, because clearly this systemic racism needs to be dealt with. If anything, this is a start. I just hope it's not a false start. I just hope they're not looking at this as, okay, well, we give them that. But moving forward, how is it going to be? Moving forward, what's going to happen? And somebody else can add to that or whatever they want.
All right. Who's chomping at the bit?
So, am I content? I'm content with the fact that he went to jail and was found guilty on all 3 counts. Absolutely. I hear your comments about is this them throwing us a bone? Possibly. I'm choosing not to look at it that way because I feel like in this instance, this is more than throwing us a bone because there was no way in my mind's eye that they could have come back with anything other than the verdict that they did. Reason being, a lot of times these things have happened and are happening, but it's been a lot less publicized. And I'm trying to choose my words very deliberately here. And when I say publicized, not just the fact that it was on social media, because Philando Castile was on social media. Not just that, it was, broadcast nationally by various news outlets, because all of these have been picked up by news outlets nationally. I really feel like this in particular moment happened, unfortunately, at the perfect time. And I think we've talked about this kind of amongst ourselves previously. This was during the pandemic when there was nothing going on and everybody's attention was kind of dialed in on the limited sources of entertainment, news, whatever available. Personally, I feel like this may have been the one good thing that came from having that moron in office beforehand. He had made our country such a laughingstock that the world was paying attention for not good reasons. And then this happened. And it was just another thing for everybody to see and say, all right, America, y'all claim to be the greatest country in the world, home of the free, land of the brave, all that happy horse crap that y'all be spewing. What you gonna do? And if it came back anything other than guilty, not that I feel like people take us uber seriously now, but any credibility that this country would have would have been completely lost. So it had to be done. So that's a little bit more than throwing a bone. That's like, trying to clean up the soul of America.
Right.
And
I said those words specifically on purpose.
Got you. I got you. All right. I'm gonna pick it up and run. Am I content? I had a woosah moment, and I gotta trace my mind back because, while watching the trial, while the jury was deliberating, while we were waiting, all of what you just said was true. It's a huge trial. All eyes is on it, but to give way, I guess, to just, I don't know whether you want to call it my distrust of the system or whatever, but it's just, I was not definitive. I was not as definitive. I was still butthole clenched. I was still waiting for, what, these motherfuckers, and they taking their time.
Understand, had tight cheeks too. I got you.
And they came back at couple days. It's taking y'all a while. So y'all talking about this. There's some stuff that has y'all thinking, or some jurors in somewhere thinking this might not be as cut and dry as the rest of the world is looking at this. We saw it. It's on tape. They've had stuff about it. How are y'all delivering? Okay, you know what? So because this been legendarily, it's not like they haven't done it before. It's not like the country hasn't done something in which every Black person you met or talked to, seen whatever, says this is cut and dry. That's it. I'm gonna dismiss this. I'm not even gonna pay too much attention until free as a bird on all counts, innocent or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? And now we're like, what? I didn't even think it was that serious. So no. But yes, so I blew out. I am content. I am happy with the victory from that standpoint, with that part of it. But at the same time, and I'm hearing what Ryan was saying, I'm hearing what Terrence is saying as far as on the throw a bone, but at the same time, like, my thing is, do I think that this is that thing that has changed the look and the face of, how people are seeing this? You know what I'm saying? it's still continuing. Even on the heels of the trial, we still have some other incidents that we keep talking about. So it feels like it's not slowing down. It's like, and like you were saying, Terrence, I think almost they had to. There is a point in which you like, okay, there's a throw you a bone mentality or not. And it's not a throw you a bone, but it's like, okay, you have to do it. Like you said, you could see it. You couldn't turn the blind eye. You couldn't turn around, go do something else and decide I'm not gonna look at the news today because there was nothing else to freaking do. So unfortunately, yes, y'all have to give us this one because all eyes are on it. But does that mean that in the next one, they don't want us to be questioned? The next one, they're gonna question it hard. And they're gonna say that not everything is the George Floyd trial and everything else. That's what's coming next. On the next clear to Black people, this is what happened. This is what should happen next. And we should get a guilty verdict. But the minds, I don't think that the world's, everyone's minds is changed enough from this. They'd have to show me. I need 2 or 3 more verdicts of clear cut. Without y'all making it, I need at least 2, 3 more.
I get it, man. We just have to move forward with a bit of cautious optimism.
Right.
But I while I do think they're throwing us a bone, I'm just gonna look at this and I'm gonna be paying attention to the next thing that happens. I'm gonna be looking with eyes wide open, examining everything. What are y'all gonna do now? Now what? Because the media does have a way of gaslighting us.
Okay, so let me jump in myself.
It's on you, Tony.
I did enjoy hearing him being found guilty on all 3 counts. Considering, okay, so we're just gonna do a little civics lesson. Considering what it takes in order to get a conviction, that number 1, you have to get a group of jurors that hasn't already decided how they feel on this issue. Where did they find these people? I don't know. That hadn't already decided.
They had to look.
Then,
Truth.
In order to not get convicted, it doesn't take evidence. It only takes a reasonable doubt to not get convicted. That's not a high bar.
Oh.
So I am pleasantly surprised that he was convicted for everything that he was charged for, all 3 counts. Yay. I am happy at that. I think that they did not have a choice. I feel that there was way too much social pressure for them to do anything other than what they did. I mean, and that's for everyone, for the jury. But could you imagine? Could you imagine being one of those jurors and let him off?
Oh heck no!
Oh man!
Like,
dude,
even if you went in, with your mind unmade up, you knew the consequences for you not coming out with that.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Maybe they didn't need to have. I don't know if this is a real thing, but a phantom jury where we don't even know who the jurors are. But like ever. But there was too much social pressure on the system to get this done right. It was way too much. Because if they did the same old shuck and jive razzmatazz dance that they do when it's obvious that there was some wrong done, people would have revolted. And it wouldn't have just been the people of color. I mean,
right.
Because of when this happened, because COVID was in full swing, and because everything other than George Floyd was shut down at the time, there was nothing else going on. So with nothing else going on, everyone got a chance to see what happened to George Floyd. Even the people that normally it wouldn't penetrate their bubble, they got to see it. So now
That's right.
If they would have handled this incorrectly, and I'm going to preface this, it's still possible for them to handle this incorrectly, but because if they would have handled this incorrectly, they would have got protests from people that they normally won't get protests from people who normally it doesn't penetrate their bubble. I am happy that he got convicted. Am I satisfied with his win? No, not at all. Not at all. I'll say for various reasons. I'm sorry for going on. Okay, in the middle of this trial going on, several other black people got killed by police. That's crazy.
That's what I was saying.
While we're trying to put one obviously bad cop away, other cops are killing other black kids or other black people while this trial is going on. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Number two, the sentencing ain't done yet. And I am preparing myself for the jingle jangle dance around shuck and jive shenanigans of this sucker. I'm expecting a three-ring circus with elephants and giraffes and magicians and fire flaming hoops and Dick Grayson, and the Flying Graysons. I'm expecting everybody to be there.
Oh man, Ringling Brothers, P.T. Barnum, the whole deal.
Barnum and Bates. I'm expecting the whole show.
I got you.
But
understand that.
I'm hoping for the best, but in my soul, I'm preparing it for the worst. And even when the conviction, I'm still not going to be convinced because I know that an appeal's coming, and I know the second appeal's coming. Like, he gonna have to run out of appeals, and his lawyer gonna have to die, and like it's gonna have to be fully over.
Have to die.
Before I believe it.
That's bad.
It's got to be fully over before I believe it.
But you know what, man? That speaks to the amount of trauma we suffer as black people, man. Because, something like this on a very basic level seems that it should be a very simple, open and shut kind of thing. And the fact that we still sitting around worried about the trial verdict and now the sentencing just says how far gone and screwed up this whole thing is. That is crazy.
Right, man? We have to live here. America is our home. Go back to Africa. I'm not from Africa. I was born and raised here for at least 5 generations. This is where I'm from. Respect me as I live in my own house. Now, if I go to England, I don't expect them to respect me. In fact, I expect them to despise me because I'm American. But in America, I at least want to be loved at home.
Tell me, go back to Africa. Pay for it.
Right. There you go. You brought me over.
Nobody from here.
Did you pay for the first ride? Oh, that's right.
Pay for it.
Ain't nobody from here.
Side note.
You either came in a white boat from Europe, a black boat from Africa, or you walked across the ice from the Bering Strait. Ain't nobody from here.
Dude, I had a conversation that it really kind of woke me up after I began to think about it with 2 of my African employees. They were talking about their countries in Africa where they're from. And then the one girl turned to me and asked me what country I'm from. And I'm like, I'm from America. I'm American. I have no idea who my people from Africa were or are. My cultural history, my cultural identity has been erased. Just wiped away. I have no idea. I do now because I use the 23andMe app. And I sent them my DNA. But before then, at that point, I didn't have that. And I had to tell her, I don't know. My cultural identity has been erased. My country, my nation is America. I'm American. This is what I am. I can't tell you.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about George Floyd. there's been another name that's been popping up in the news and social media. Ma'Khia Bryant, 6-year-old young woman, got shot after a police call. My first question would be, can we put her in the same basket or in the same context as George Floyd? Should we rally around her the same way that we rally around George Floyd? And I'll even add more words to that. It's obvious from the video in George Floyd who the victim was. You could see that there was someone who was an aggressor and there was someone that was receiving the aggression. It's cut and dry. Not so much with Ma'Khia. According to reports, she's the person that called the police, but at the same time, when the police got there, they saw her wielding a weapon. So it may not seem that much to the community who is in the wrong, but outside of the community or to other people in the community, may not necessarily agree that she was 100% or fully, her hands are fully clean. So should we put her in the same basket as George Floyd? And I'll let anyone answer this however they want to.
Yes.
Okay. Terrence says yes. You want to
Short answer. Short answer. Yes. To quote, actually, I don't remember who said it first, but I'll just go say it again. I'm here to support all the black people. So, okay. All jokes aside, seriously, yes, we should put her in the same category. And there are a number of reasons why, in my opinion. Even if we put aside the fact that she called the police and, she was potentially having to fend off people attacking her, which is why she had the knife and was lunging at them out of anger. I mean, this is a 16-year-old kid who thought clearly at all times, especially upset as a 16-year-old. I know I for sure didn't. I don't think I should have died because of a momentary lapse in judgment. Moving on from that, reason I feel like she should be put in the same category is because though the police may say use of deadly force is well within their permissible rights, and that's what they're trained to do in situations like that, here's a question. So I'm gonna let everybody answer, but I have a question for y'all to ponder while you're thinking about this thing. If this is the way the police are being trained, where are all the black cops shooting armed white people in these very similar type situations? Do they not get the same training? Better question, why are there so many white victims who were either talked down or tased in situations like that instead of fatally shot? So yes, we need to rally around her, just like we rallied around George Floyd. Like we should rally around anybody, anytime this happens, because whether you like it or not, you have clearly set a standard. And that standard is, if they're white, let them live. If they're black or brown, take them down.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. And I love that he ended his point on that. And I'm going to follow up and just say yes as well. We should, it's the same thing. This is what they were using to try to defend just about every black person that they have shot, is that, they did something first. So they were a criminal and we were well within our rights to do this. This is why this is the argument that they use to get the cops off. Now, in this particular argument, we're talking about somebody who did actually have a weapon that could yield harm, not to the officer, but to the people there. And yes, they could intervene. But again, going back to that standard, like Terrence said, the standard seems to be legendarily go for deadly force first. That's what they're not understanding. What they're understanding, they keep trying to say, okay, well, we're to defend ourselves and say that, deadly force was authorized, deadly force. Deadly force is all we ever hear, except in the cases of the white folk. From that standpoint, they are getting not using deadly force and things of that nature. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know what I'm talking about. Somebody's out there losing their cold mind on the comments saying, and all these white people are killed because y'all are still the dominant majority. And you are. What's the evidence? Show me. I don't see it. I swear, I know that our counterparts are sitting out there that want to say this. These KKK grand dragons that want to start crap and whatnot, and our Proud Boys are sitting out there, would love to show this evidence. So where is it? Where the frick is it? Because it's not there, because that is not the standard. The standard is still go for your weapon first when you have a situation with a black person. That's their initial standard. And as far as a white person standard.
I was about to say, can I tell you where that evidence is?
Where?
It's in the same place that them weapons of mass destruction were. And those allegations of voter fraud and tampering in the election. They're all in the same place. It's like Area 53.
Okay, that's what it is. Not 51, but 53. There were 52 levels below 51 over there in the back corner. Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, it's
target.
My biggest thing, every time I watch a video, every time I see this thing, I'm always still tripping and saying, why are the weapons drawn? Why are you going to your weapons? This person, in this case, this person did have a weapon. So yes, I see it. I know what you're saying, but nothing but deadly force was applied. Deadly force was the only thing that was applied. The other thing that I see, just real quick from the video, I call the cops. You're supposed to calm a situation down. That didn't look anything but calm. The assailants were not separated from each other. Why was she not disarmed from the very beginning? What is going on? Where is the training within your officers? Oh, wait, like we said, if they're black, take them down. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sorry. Yes, I think we should be right behind them, in support, screaming the same thing. Because just because it's a clear-cut thing where we can see that what y'all say all the time, oh, this person did something, and that gave us the right to shoot them 4 times, by the way, in lethal places, by the way. Not armed, not leg, just bam. Take them on out right off the deck. No, I ain't with that.
So I want to jump in after Sean. And Rano, if you want to come in, you can come in after me. But I want to bounce off of okay, so let's start by acknowledging I can understand why, if you being a police officer and you arriving at that situation, that you could see her as a potential threat of violence to other people as well as to you, the police officer. I understand that. Here's my problem, and you guys may have heard me mention something like this before, that I believe that we as Black people are not viewed as equal or even as human as others. I feel like, or I believe, I'm not going to say I believe that when a white officer, and this is probably not even intentional, right? This is probably underlying psyche stuff, but I believe that a lot of times when some white officers show up to a situation, they can identify with a white person. Like, I'm a human, you're a human, let me treat you like a human. Whereas when they come to see a black person, they think, I'm a human, they're a threat. Let me treat them like a threat. Right? And you can blame it on social media, you can blame it on the media, you can blame it on the media, TV, movies, show tunes, your parents, your neighborhood, your pastor, the Bible, racism. You can blame, the source comes from a lot of different places. But the point is that there is an underlying thought or an underlying idea that we are not equal to them. Not to say that that is true, or not to say that every white person feels that way, in their mind, but there's something there. There's something there that makes them think this person, as a black person, is more dangerous than if I change the color of their skin and everything else is different. There's something there. If that was a group of white girls, white young ladies, I don't think anyone would have died that day.
I believe not.
Absolutely. I don't believe it would have.
So we have to ask ourselves, what is making them think that way? Like, it's because some people are like, oh, they're not being trained to properly handle weapons. They seem to be able to shoot a 16-year-old girl pretty well and kill her. So apparently they know how to handle their weapon. They were able to let Dylan Roof live, so they know how to handle their weapon. Come on now. Like, on the real though, I mean, like, how many instances, how many times does this have to happen before some real conversation start being had as far as, what do you see when you see me? I know what you say, what you see when you see me, but your actions do not show that that is what you see when you see me. I don't believe your words, I believe your actions. So until your actions change, your words don't mean, okay? So, where am I going with this? I feel that there needs to be some sort of, I'm about to say like Starbucks, some, what they call it, not emotional, but what kind of training did they take off a couple of days to do? Some empathy training or something like that.
Right. Yes.
Some
Training
social
to be
training.
less cop.
So I have a lot of things to say, and I'm gonna probably sound like I agree with the cops, but I'm gonna say it. It's not a matter of training per se. It's like Tony said, they have no problems shooting a 16-year-old girl. The problem isn't their training in terms of the use of firearms, because anyone with any amount of firearm training knows that you aim center mass. Center mass. It's easier to hit somebody in their chest than it is to hit them in their arm or in their leg or in their head. So we know training isn't the problem. But I wanted to be a cop once in my life. And I was even going to attempt to do so at another point in my life. But I've since decided that it wouldn't be a very good idea at this point in my life and moving forward. But if I came upon the situation, there's going to be a lot of things going through my mind. I'm being told that there's a situation where someone is being stabbed, being attacked with a knife. So I already know that I'm coming to a hostile situation. There's a person with a weapon. Anybody with any amount of training know, and this is a part of the reasons why cops shoot people with knives, is because somebody with the knife, they can cover a lot of ground and get to you before you can even think to pull your weapon out good. That's why you have to have good weapons training.
So let me pause you real
these-
quick. Sorry. Let me fact check you right there. Okay, so according to the reports, it wasn't mentioned that there was a knife or anything because allegedly Michaela is the one that called it in. So she was calling in because she felt threatened by the other girls that were around her. Okay, I just
Okay,
felt
that's a good
it.
point, but that's not where I'm headed. When the cop got there, he saw the aggressor with the knife. And so anyone that has any amount of gun training knows that if someone has a knife and they pulls out a knife, they're just as much of a danger to you as you are to them with a gun. And the best defense against someone with a knife is to be able to draw quicker than they are. But again, it's not about training. It's about coming to a site and human nature taking over. Now, I'd like to say that there was fear involved because there is fear involved when a situation like this arises. But I don't know how much fear was going on in this cop's head. I'm just going by watching the video, seeing the girl with the knife, and then reacting. Now I'm starting to rethink my situation. I'm sorry, guys.
You're fine. Because
Now-
a lot of
You
times
good,
those
you
things
good.
happen.
Yeah.
Right. But this cop is placed into a situation where he gets on scene and he has seconds to make an assessment. Now, if everybody was just standing around and angrily yelling, then I could see coming into that fine. I come in, I have on a uniform, I have the gun. Everybody's going to change. Posture's going to change. I don't know who's who. But if I don't see any weapons, then I'm going to respond a certain way. But once a weapon is produced, then at that point, it's up to the people with the weapons to respond and behave accordingly. There's so many situations that could happen. I've seen it where I thought this cop gunned this guy down, and it was a black man. I thought the cops were wrong in gunning this guy down. But then I rewatched the video, and I watched it again, and turns out the guy had a gun. He was going to shoot the cop, and the cop, in protection of his life and putting down the threat to the people around him, rightfully pulled out their weapons, and they shot the man and took him down. Then there's other situations where there's a man, he was white, the cops were white, and they were giving him instructions. The man was already on the ground, his palms were on the ground, and they were giving him instructions. He's getting all these instructions and he's trying to do what they said, and the cops still shot him. They were white and he was white, and the guy was unarmed. These things do happen. So to make my point, to kind of drive it home, would I put Miss Bryant in that situation? Yes, I would, because she's a black female, and historically we know this is how police deal with black people. But there is a case to be made for cops in that situation. There's fear, there's a lot of information coming at them, and they've got to react the right way. And sometimes the choice that they make isn't necessarily the right one. And if you got a cop that can't see himself in this person that he's coming to deal with the situation, if he can't see this person like another decent human being, then of course there's going to be his bias may come into play. But okay, I'm trying to make a point here.
Can I interrupt you?
Go ahead.
Okay, so
While I get it back.
no problem. Okay, so I'm a big proponent in thinking that people can think two things at once. It is possible for there to be places that can be corrected, but it is possible to also see how, or let me say it this way. I don't believe that there was any ill intent on behalf of the police officer. Right? Like, or if there was, it wasn't easily seen. Like you can't tell by what happened that it looks like that police officer hates black people or doesn't like black women or has any prejudice, right? It just seems like it was a moment that went by pretty fast. He saw a weapon and he fired. You could imagine, and I know I'm probably counteracting what I probably said earlier. I can imagine a scenario where that would be a white person and a white officer could have fired in that situation. Would they have actually fired? I don't know.
Right, but again...
Give me just a second. Okay,
go ahead.
So I can see, and this is just me looking at my crystal ball, I don't expect for that police officer to be charged or convicted of anything. If he is charged, I don't expect for him to be convicted. Is that a loss for the black community? Not necessarily. I mean, other than the actual family, right? But I think that it's just another symptom of a larger problem. Right?
Right. I think it would be a loss for everybody in general, especially the family's probably going to feel it more because they lost their sister, they lost their daughter. But now the whole community has to be reminded that, hey, your skin color is going to determine your fate when you fall into the hands of some cop showing up on site because somebody saw you as a threat.
Right, but how many black people don't already?
The point that I was trying to arrive at
Go ahead, sorry.
was the point that I was trying to arrive at was my biggest problem with all of this is how the media handles it. I have a lot of trouble trusting the media. Whenever they report something, I in the back of my head, I'm always wondering, is this the full story? I want to know the full story. And I don't want to know just their side of the story because I know they're going to pick and choose what they're going to share. I know that there are white people that are shot by black cops. I know there are white people that are shot by white cops, fatally. These things happen. Our country is so big. These things happen probably every couple of seconds. But I refuse to accept that it's just us, just black people. But that goes without saying. If it's happening to us, it's happening to everybody. And then if it's happening to everybody, then something has to be done to regulate or to recondition how we train our police officers to deal with these situations. We can't just have people coming in guns a-blazing and responding based on old data that was made by a 1950s FBI source, which is going to be biased against us as people of color, obviously.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
To you, Rhino? Why do you believe that it can't just be happening to us? And I'll preface that with knowing the history of this country and how this country was built. Why is it hard to believe that this is happening to just us? Because kind of like we talked about a little bit before we started recording, it actually, no, Sean even made the point. If this was really one of those things where it's happening even on a 2-to-1 ratio,
For every 2 black kids who were shot or 2 black people who are shot by cops, there's 1
shot by white people across the board, why wouldn't that be shared? That just seems like a very easy way to quell some of this outrage and bias and anger in our community if you just present the opposite side of the coin. I mean, because if at the very least it would bring forth a bigger movement to do what you just said, which is work on training our police force, because then you have both sides of the coin arguing for the same thing.
Instead, we have video surfacing of the complete opposite. We have video surfacing of, white people being stopped by white officers, the white person getting completely belligerent, not doing what is asked of them by the officer, acting and getting, whatever, and the officer not reacting in the same exact way. Working with them, several officers, the hands not only not at their weapons, but allowing this white guy to drive away and fuss at them. No shots fired, no issues. That's the videos that are surfacing versus the videos that I promise you our counterparts would love to show us. They're flipping out. All the comments, their buttons are hot. It happens all over because you do outnumber us. And I find that strange too, because y'all still outnumber us. We still the minority. We may not feel like it because we in certain places when we go somewhere and we kind of pop up on y'all in some other places. But some of these places, Wisconsin, Wyoming, Montana, we don't go to these places. That's the places where all white people are working in the McDonald's and stuff like that. We don't mess with them. You can go to upper state South Carolina and find an all-white McDonald's in this little Bumford town that you've never heard of, that we don't be at. No shootings coming from there. It's crazy and stuff like that. What's going on?
Well,
I started off with the position that I was playing devil's advocate. We're not trying to jump you, man. Right. I understand, but there's a need for diversity in this. What happened to Terrence? Anyway, there's a need for diversity in this thing. There's a need for a differing viewpoint so that it doesn't it adds some flavor to the pot. But my point, I saw that same video with the guy being belligerent. He had a gun on the seat.
See, I didn't even know that part.
Yeah, he had a gun on the seat. The seat.
My bad. Sorry. I just wanted to throw this out here real quick, Ryan. I was trying to say I didn't hear you say you were playing devil's advocate, so I missed that completely. Yeah.
I don't think I actually said it, but I was coming from a perspective that I was playing devil advocate. Maybe I should have said that, but still, the point is, I don't believe this is just happening to us. The response of the cops may be different, but my question is, it's just like when I was a kid, growing up, around January, they started playing the civil rights movement stuff, and they started showing the black people getting hosed down and attacked by dogs, and that used to bother me when I was a kid. I didn't want to see that, and I understand it was necessary that I needed to see it because I needed to know what my people's past were in this country. But at the same time, a point came and I was like, when I got older, I would change the channel because I don't want to see this pain. I don't want to be blasted by it all the time. And sometimes I feel like, and maybe it's just me, but I think we're just blasted with the same information. And I kind of feel like the media is trying to tell us that we are worthless. Like I said, what are you trying to do? Why are you trying to gaslight us?
Hey, so let me
and even white people are getting to the point that they're upset at it. What's the deal? What's really going on? And the only thing that we have to go off of is what the media shows us. It's like what are they programming us for? What are they trying to say? Again, I'm not saying that the police were right in the way they responded and shooting a 16-year-old girl with a knife. She was 16. She wasn't attacking you. She was attacking somebody else. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it fair. The whole situation is really messed up. And whether the cop gets sent to jail or gets terminated and unable to be a police officer anymore, that's one thing. We'll deal with that. But what's the end game? I guess is my question, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so let's talk about the concern over the media, and I can understand that because depending on who your news source is, your news gets spin or spun.
That would be all the news sources.
Maybe spun on a conservative level, maybe spun on a liberal level, maybe spun towards, one race or against another race. And like, I'm just going to assume that we're not talking about you in particular, but let's just assume that you, whoever you is out there, you are a person that are concerned that you're being fed information to rile you up. Okay, let's start with that premise. So what do? Instead of you looking at individual situations, look at the overall numbers, right? Because 2 + 2 is 4, regardless of whether you're white or black. Okay, so how many white people are killed by the police? How many black people are killed by the police? I'm not going to go into figures, but there are about twice as many white people a year killed by police than black people. Why, Tony? It sounds like more white people getting killed by police. Yeah, that would make sense if we were equal parts of the population. They're dying they have twice as many deaths, but we're only 1/8 of the population. So let's take this. 1/8. We're basically dying 4 times the rate of them in police encounters. That's stupid, right? All things being equal.
Absolutely.
All things being equal, that's basically saying that out of 10 scenarios, for every 2 white people getting killed, there are 8 black people getting killed. That's silly. I don't know what to do with that. and I understand fatigue, right? Because quite frankly, me being a black person, I'm tired of hearing. I'm so tired. I'm tired of hearing police. I'm tired of hearing about police. And this is coming from a guy that has police in his family. My grandfather was a policeman. I have several aunts and uncles that are policemen. I have several military people in my family that are, military, but not quite police. But like, I tend to side with blue, but the numbers are saying that something's wrong. Like, even if I don't see another newscast, even if I don't look at another Facebook post, I'm looking at the numbers, and the numbers saying, hey, black people are dying too often when they confront police. That's way too much. And it needs to be addressed. And I don't have the solution. Lord knows if I had the solution, I'd probably be richer than I am right now. But I think that an admission of a problem needs to happen. And I'll leave it at that.
Sorry, didn't mean that.
Okay. So, and I was just gonna say, an admission of a problem absolutely needs to happen. I think you made another great point earlier, Blunt, when you said that part about how we're viewed. Excuse me, for me, all of this stuff is steeped in history. Although history isn't necessarily repeating itself exactly, history is still being carried forward. Everything from, you ask some of these Southern folks what heritage that they're fighting for. It's our history. Your history of what? Southern pride and the Confederacy. Okay, what did the Confederacy want? Well, we wanted the right to be able to have labor performed in the South. Okay, by who?
Mhm. Mhm.
You
Who's
know,
stopping you from working your own fields?
like
I
Lin-Manuel
it was.
Miranda
Yeah,
said,
exactly right.
keep ranting. We all know who's doing the planting.
Mhm.
Shout
Oh,
out to
yeah.
Hamilton.
Oh yeah, shout out to Hamilton.
So,
We
but
will address that soon.
Yes.
but real talk, it's just they steeped in history are still being carried forward, you know. And I hear you, Sean, on that point of we're still the minority, and for the most part, I can buy that. Although it feels like there's been something of a shift, because there's, at the very least, I think more biracial or mixed race kids. That number should be increasing.
Right.
The issue with that would be, I won't say the issue, but the thing with that would be how these children identify, or how they're introduced to culture, and how they're introduced to, again, history.
Mhm.
You know, if they're taught to only answer one half of that, they're going to identify one way. If they're taught to embrace the whole, that may open things up a little bit differently.
Go ahead.
At the end of the day, I feel like it's still all tied to history. And until people are willing to let go of history and start trying to forge a new path.
And that's exactly what we need to do. This government needs to take the forefront on that. They need to step up and say, hey, look, historically, this has been the case. We're going to change that moving forward. Why is that so hard? Why is it so difficult to make these changes?
Because this is the way we've been doing these things for the past 200 years, or 200 plus years. Can't just change tradition.
Of
course you can. We know we can.
And I'm hesitant to not agree, because I do believe that the government does have a place in how we view each other. But when it comes to like this race issue, like if it wasn't a race issue, right, whose shoulders would self-improvement be on? It'd be on the shoulders of the individual.
Right.
Right? Like, so me being a black person, it is on me to be, I want to say less racist, but less color-eyed when it comes to people of non-black race. I need to be less discriminatory, and you see what I'm saying? And not be as, what's another word I'm looking for? Less stereotypical. Like expecting a white person to be what a white person is in the mind of a black person.
Right.
So I feel that for people that are not black, it's up to them as individuals to grow and mature and heal and figure this thing out. Do I believe that's going to happen? That's a whole nother story.
Unfortunately, people
are stupid.
I'd like to be. Well, yeah, people are
There
stupid.
we go. Oh, he worked it in there. He worked it in.
In the words of a wise man. In the words of a wise man. But people don't like change. But I'm one of those persons. But you know what? I had to realize that, look, this has to change, and I had to work on myself and make sure that change occurred. And I think I don't know how we're going to get this message out other than this podcast, but our nation as a whole has to stop, acknowledge what the deal is, and then change. And then urge everybody on the individual basis, look, we've got to change. And I know you're going to have that small group of idiots out there that are saying, no, we're not going to change. This is what we're going to do. Well, let them be the weirdos. But the greater majority of the country has to look. We're going to all be Americans and we're going to change. Yes, injustices were done. We'll do what we can to amend for that. But moving forward, our mindset has to be this for our posterity so that our country can come together and be one people instead of all these divided people. Because as long as we're divided, we're vulnerable.
That's a whole nother can of worms. People aren't ready to cross that bridge yet.
He used that preamble word. He used posterity. I'm impressed, man. Ordained and established. But anyway, but fellas, we've had a pretty good talk. I think it's about time to wrap it up.
True story.
Anyone wants to add before we close this chapter?
Remember Breonna Taylor.
Oh my God. Man, if we start naming names.
Can I throw out another person who's no longer with us that we should remember? Not related.
Okay.
Today was the memorial service for DMX.
Okay.
And definitely want to. I'm not gonna get my bark on the podcast per se, but definitely want to shout out the memory of DMX because Earl Simmons was, that dude. So, just wanted to slip that in there before we close.
Lord, give me a sign. Thanks for letting us know what's on your mind, Terrence. But anyway, it's been a good discussion. Rest in peace to everyone that has fallen victim to a bullet from a police officer. Rest in peace, DMX. Hopefully we'll be better someday. But in that note, we're going to call it a night, and I'll let the outro go to Terrence.
Okay, so
if we're going to do this and we're going to rest in peace to all those people, I guess I got to also throw in Black Rob and Shock G. Hip hop legends. It's just so crazy. We just talked about hip hop legends on here, and now within the matter of like a couple weeks, 3 of them just gone. So shout outs to them and their families, condolences. Other than that, thank y'all for listening. Like, share, subscribe. God bless you. Good night.
Peace.
Bye, y'all. Appreciate it. We do appreciate it.